The transport ship shuddered as it approached the massive space station. Hana pressed her face against the small window and stared at the Stellar Defense Academy. The station was bigger than any city on Earth. It spun slowly in the darkness of space around a giant orange planet that filled half the sky. Hana felt her stomach twist with nerves. She was the first human ever accepted to the Academy. Every other species in the galaxy had sent their best warriors here for over 200 years. Now it was humanity's turn. The docking bay was huge and filled with creatures Hana had only seen in training videos. Tall beings with gray skin and 4 arms carried heavy bags like they weighed nothing. Creatures that looked like walking crystals moved in perfect formation. Others floated in the air without any visible means of support. All of them stopped and stared when Hana walked off the transport. She was small compared to most of them. Her black hair was tied back in a simple ponytail. She wore the standard academy uniform that looked too big on her human frame. The other students whispered to each other in languages that sounded like grinding metal or singing wind. "So this is the human," said a voice behind her. Hana turned around. A massive creature stood there. It had thick gray skin that looked like armor plates. Its eyes were small and black. 4 arms hung at its sides like tree trunks. This had to be a Valkyrian. "I am Gorthax," the creature said. Its voice sounded like rocks falling down a mountain. "I have heard much about your species. They say you are weak but clever." "I'm Hana," she replied. She tried to keep her voice steady. Gorthax looked her up and down. "You do not look like much of a warrior." Other students gathered around them. Hana recognized some of the species from her studies. The tall ones with 4 arms were Thurians. The crystal beings were Nexari. The floating ones were ethereals. There were others she had never seen before. "The human is so small," one of the Thurians said. It had bright blue skin and wore no shirt to show off its 4 muscled arms. "How did it pass the entrance tests?" "Perhaps the tests were easier for primitive species," suggested a Nexari. Its voice sounded like musical notes. Light flickered through its crystal body as it spoke. Hana felt her face grow hot. She wanted to say something back but forced herself to stay quiet. She was here to prove humanity belonged in the galactic community. Starting a fight on her first day would not help. "Enough," said a sharp voice. Everyone turned. A Nexari approached them. This one was taller than the others and wore a uniform with many badges. Light pulsed through its crystal body in complex patterns. "I am Commander Zilnash," it said. "You will all report to your assigned quarters. Training begins tomorrow at first shift." The crowd of students began to move away. Commander Zilnash stopped Hana with a gesture. "Human," it said. "You face great challenges here. Many doubt your species has what it takes to succeed. You must prove them wrong or prove them right. There is no middle ground." Hana nodded. "I understand, Commander." "We shall see," Zilnash said and walked away. Hana found her room on level 7. Her roommate was already there. It was a Thurian with pale green skin and the usual 4 arms. It was organizing its belongings with mechanical precision. "You must be the human," it said without looking up. "I am Vextal." "Nice to meet you," Hana said. She put her single bag on the empty bed. Vextal finally looked at her. "Your belongings are few." "Humans travel light," Hana said. "Humans are light," Vextal replied. It did not sound like a compliment. The next morning came too soon. Hana joined hundreds of other students in the main training hall. The ceiling was so high she could barely see it. Exercise equipment filled the space. Some of it looked familiar. Most of it did not. Commander Zilnash stood on a raised platform. "Welcome to combat training," it announced. Its voice carried easily through the huge room. "You will be paired randomly for sparring matches. This will help us understand your current abilities." A holographic display appeared in the air. Names began appearing in pairs. Hana watched and waited. Her name appeared next to Gorthax. The massive Valkyrian was already waiting in the sparring ring when she arrived. He looked even bigger up close. His natural armor plates covered his entire body. His 4 arms each ended in hands that could crush steel. "This will be quick," Gorthax said. Other students gathered around the ring to watch. Some made bets on how long the human would last. The odds were not in Hana's favor. Commander Zilnash activated the ring's barriers. "Begin," it said. Gorthax moved faster than something his size should be able to move. His first punch came at Hana like a falling boulder. She dodged to the side and felt the wind from his fist ruffle her hair. She tried to counter with a punch to his side. Her fist hit his armor and felt like hitting a stone wall. Pain shot through her knuckles. Gorthax laughed. Is that all? His second attack was a sweeping motion with 2 arms. Hana ducked under it and tried to get behind him. But he spun around and caught her with his third arm. The blow sent her flying across the ring. She hit the barrier and slid to the floor. Stars danced in front of her eyes. The crowd of students murmured. Some sounded disappointed that it was ending so quickly. But Hana got back up. Gorthax looked surprised. Most beings stay down after that. Hana wiped blood from her lip. I'm not most beings. The fight continued. Gorthax was stronger and had natural armor. But as the minutes passed, something started to change. His heavy attacks began to slow down. His breathing became labored. Hana was getting hit a lot. But she was also learning. She noticed that his armor had weak spots at the joints. She saw that he favored his right side. Most importantly, she realized he was getting tired. When Gorthax threw another massive punch, Hana was ready. She stepped inside his reach and struck at the soft spot where his arm joined his body. Her hit was small but precise. Gorthax grunted in pain. She kept moving. Every time he attacked, she was already somewhere else. Every time he left an opening, she struck at his weak points. Her hits were not powerful, but they were adding up. The timer showed 2 minutes left in the match. Gorthax was breathing hard now. Sweat dripped from his armor plates. His attacks were slower and wilder. Hana stayed calm. She had found her rhythm. Duck under the punch. Step to the side. Strike at the joint. Move before he could counter. Duck, step, strike, move. With 30 seconds left, Gorthax made one last desperate attack. He brought all 4 arms down in a hammering blow that would have flattened her, but Hana rolled away at the last second. His fists hit the ring floor hard enough to crack it. The timer reached 0. Both fighters were still standing, but Gorthax was bent over, gasping for air. His forearms shook with exhaustion. Hana stood straight. She was bruised and bleeding, but her eyes were clear and alert. She was ready to keep fighting. The crowd was silent. No one had expected this. Commander Zilnash looked at both fighters. Draw, it announced. As Hana walked out of the ring, she heard whispers from the other students. The tone was different now. They were no longer dismissing the small human. Gorthax approached her outside the ring. You fight strangely, he said. But you fight well. Thank you, Hana said. I underestimated you. I will not make that mistake again, Hana nodded. Neither will I. That night, Vextal helped her treat her injuries. You surprised everyone today, her roommate said. I surprised myself too, Hana admitted. The Academy has never seen a human fight before. They did not know what to expect. Hana winced as Vextal applied medicine to a cut on her forehead. What do they expect now? Now they know you do not give up easily. That changes things. Hana looked out the window at the stars. Earth was somewhere out there depending on her success. She had taken the first step. It would not get easier from here, but she was still standing. That had to count for something. News of Hana's fight with Gorthax spread through the Academy faster than light through a quantum relay. By the next morning, every student knew about the human who refused to fall down. Some were impressed. Others were annoyed. All of them were curious. Hana's personal communicator buzzed during breakfast. The message was from Earth. General Deho's face appeared on the small screen. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes, but his expression was serious. Hana, he said, we heard about your first combat test. Well done. The entire Defense Council is watching your progress. Remember, you represent all of humanity up there. The message ended. Hana stared at the blank screen. She had not asked to carry the hopes of her entire species. The weight of it felt heavier than Gorthax's punches. Pressure from home? Vextal asked. Her Thurian roommate had been more friendly since the fight. Something like that, Hana said. Her communicator buzzed again. This time it was her younger brother Jinwoo. He was still in military training on Earth. His face was excited and proud. Big sister, you did it. Everyone here is talking about how you fought a Valkyrian to a draw. Dad would have been so proud. Their father had died in a mining accident years ago. He had always dreamed of humans joining the galactic community. I just did what I had to do, Hana said. The instructors here are using your fight as an example in tactics class. They say you showed perfect adaptive combat. Whatever that means. Jinwoo grinned. Just remember us little people when you become famous. Hana smiled despite her worries. Her brother always knew how to make her feel better. The second week of training was much harder than the first. Commander Zilnash divided the students into small groups for tactical exercises. Each exercise was designed to test different abilities. Some needed raw strength. Others required speed or intelligence or special senses that only certain species possessed. Hana failed most of them. In the stealth exercise, her human scent was too strong for the tracking drones to miss. Species like the ethereals could become nearly invisible, while she stood out like a beacon. In the technology interface test, she could not connect her mind directly to computer systems like the mechanist students could. Her fingers fumbled with manual controls while others controlled multiple systems with thought alone. The zero-gravity combat simulation was the worst. Most species had some natural way to move in space. The ethereals could fly. The Nexari could manipulate magnetic fields. The Draconics had natural thrusters. Hana bounced helplessly off walls while her opponents danced around her. After each failure, she saw the disappointment in Commander Zilnash's crystal eyes. She felt the stares from other students. Some looked smug. Others looked sorry for her. Both reactions made her angry. But there was one exercise where something different happened. The opponent was Lysa Din, an ethereal student known for her unbeatable fighting style. Ethereals could make their bodies partially solid, like thick gas. Most attacks passed right through them, but they could solidify parts of themselves to strike back. Every student who had faced Lysa Din had been defeated quickly. Her technique seemed impossible to counter. How do you fight someone you cannot touch? Hana studied recordings of previous matches. She watched Lysa Din phase through punches and kicks like they were air. She saw how the ethereal would solidify her fist just long enough to land devastating blows. But Hana noticed something others had missed. For just a moment before each attack, Lysa Din had to make her entire body solid. It was less than a second, but it was there. The match took place in a special chamber that could contain ethereal students. Lysa Din floated in the center like a cloud of silver mist. Her voice sounded like wind through leaves. I have heard about you, human. You are stubborn but slow. This will not take long. Lysa Din attacked immediately. Her partially solid form flowed around Hana like water. Strikes came from impossible angles. Hana's attempts to fight back hit nothing but air. For the first few minutes, it looked like every other match against the ethereal. Hana took hit after hit while landing none of her own. But she was not trying to win yet. She was learning. She counted the timing between Lysa Din's attacks. She watched for the moment when the ethereal had to become fully solid. She absorbed punishment while gathering data. Why do you not yield? Lysa Din asked after landing a particularly hard blow. You cannot hurt me. Not yet, Hana said, spitting blood. The turning point came in the 8th minute. Lysa Din prepared for what she thought would be a finishing strike. She began to solidify for the attack. Hana saw it coming and was ready. Just as Lysa Din became fully solid, Hana struck. Her punch caught the ethereal square in the center of her form. Lysa Din had never been hit while solid before. The impact sent shockwaves through her gaseous body. The ethereal screamed in pain and immediately yielded. She had no experience dealing with actual damage. Her entire fighting style was based on being untouchable. The observation deck was silent. Students and instructors stared in disbelief. No one had ever defeated Lysa Din before. Certainly not with a simple punch. Commander Zilnash approached the ring. How? It asked. I watched, Hana said. I learned. I waited for my chance. You absorbed significant damage during your observation period. Most beings would have yielded from the pain. Hana wiped blood from her nose. Pain is temporary. Learning is forever. But the victory came with a cost. Hana spent the next 3 days in the medical bay. Her human body had taken more punishment than it was designed for. Dr. Youngman, the Academy's human medical consultant, was worried. Your pain tolerance is remarkable, he said while treating her injuries. But your body has limits. You cannot keep fighting this way. I'm healing faster than you expected though, right? Hana asked. Dr. Youngman looked at her charts. Yes, your recovery rate is exceptional. But that does not mean you are invincible. It means I can take more risks than other species. That's an advantage. Or it could get you killed. Hana stared at the ceiling of the medical bay. Through the window she could see other students training. Some of them now looked at her with respect instead of pity. That respect had been earned with blood and pain. Her communicator buzzed. Another message from General Deho. Your defeat of the ethereal student has impressed the Galactic Defense Council. However, Reports of your injuries are concerning. Remember, you must succeed, but you must also survive. Humanity needs you to graduate. The pressure was getting heavier. It was not enough to do well. She had to be perfect. She had to prove humanity was worthy of respect, while also proving they could handle the physical demands of galactic defense. Vexatal visited her in the medical bay. The other students are talking, her roommate said. About what? Some say you are crazy for taking so much damage. Others say you are brave. A few think you are both. What do you think? Vextal considered the question. I think you fight like no one else. Your species does not have our strength, or the Nexari's intelligence, or the Ethereal's abilities. But you have something different. What's that? You do not know when to quit. For most species, that would be stupidity. For humans, it might be wisdom. That night, alone in the medical bay, Hana thought about her father. He used to work in the deep mines where cave-ins were common. He always said that the miners who survived were not the strongest or the smartest. They were the ones who kept digging when everyone else gave up. Keep digging, little star, he used to tell her, even when the mountain falls on you. Outside her window, the academy continued its endless orbit. Thousands of the galaxy's best warriors trained for battles that might never come. Most of them had natural advantages that made them superior fighters. But Hana was starting to understand that her lack of natural gifts might be a gift itself. When you have nothing to rely on except your refusal to quit, you learn to find ways others never consider. She was still learning, still adapting, still standing, and tomorrow she would face whatever new challenge the academy had for her, because that was what humans did. They kept going when stopping made more sense. The academy's medical systems monitored her vital signs as she slept. Her heart rate was steady. Her brain activity showed normal patterns. But something in her cellular structure was different from other species. Something that let her bounce back from damage that would permanently disable others. The doctors did not understand it yet, but they were beginning to suspect that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology or their intelligence. It was their refusal to stay broken. The Academy's training ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a dead space station. The massive structure hung in the darkness like a metal graveyard. Its lights were out. Its communications were silent. But its automated defense systems were very much alive. "This is your first live-fire exercise," Commander Zilnash announced to the assembled students. "You will work in pairs to complete objectives inside the station. The defenses are real. The danger is real. Some of you may not return." Hana felt her stomach twist. Real danger meant real consequences. This was not a training simulation where losing meant embarrassment. Here, losing meant death. "Team assignments are posted," the commander continued. "You have 1 hour to prepare." Hana found her name on the list. Her partner was Kael'vor, a draconic student she had never worked with before. Draconics were impressive fighters with natural flame breath weapons and the ability to fly in zero gravity. Kael'vor was one of the best in their class. She found him in the equipment bay. He was tall even for a draconic, with dark red scales that gleamed like metal. Wings folded against his back. Steam came from his nostrils when he breathed. "So I get the human," he said without looking at her. "This should be interesting." "I know you don't want to work with me," Hana said. "But we're partners now." Kael'vor finally looked at her. His eyes were yellow and slitted like a snake's. "I have heard about your victories. Lucky shots against opponents who underestimated you. That will not work here. Then what do you suggest? Stay behind me. Try not to get in the way. I will complete the objectives." Hana bit back her response. Starting an argument would not help either of them survive. Their first mission was to reach the station's power core and restart the main generators. Simple in theory, but the station's defenses included armed drones, automated turrets, and security barriers. The insertion went badly from the start. Kael'vor flew ahead without waiting for coordination. He blasted through the first set of security doors with his flame breath. Alarms immediately began screaming throughout the station. Stealth was an option, Hana said through their radio link. "Stealth is for the weak," Kael'vor replied. "Power solves all problems." But power did not solve the fire suppression systems. When the station's computers detected flames, they flooded the corridors with chemical suppressants. Kael'vor's fire breath became useless. Worse, the chemicals made it hard for him to breathe. "Fall back," Hana suggested. "We can find another route." "I do not retreat," Kael'vor said. He tried to push forward through the suppression foam, but armed drones converged on their position. His flight was hampered by the thick chemical clouds. The mission ended in failure. Their team was marked as eliminated after Kael'vor was overwhelmed by drone attacks. Only Hana's quick retreat saved her from the same fate. "Your partner's arrogance cost you," Commander Zilnash told them during the debrief. "Try again tomorrow." The second mission was even worse. They were supposed to retrieve data from the station's computer core. Kael'vor again refused to coordinate, charging ahead with flame and fury. This time the station's security systems were ready for him. Energy barriers blocked his flight paths. Sonic disruptors disrupted his balance. When he finally reached the computer core, he found it protected by a maze of laser grids that his large form could not navigate. Mission failed again. Other teams were succeeding. Mixed species partnerships were finding ways to combine their different abilities. But Kael'vor's pride would not let him work with what he saw as an inferior partner. "The human is dead weight," he told other students. "I could complete these missions alone if I did not have to protect her." Hana heard the comments. They stung because she had not been able to prove him wrong. Every mission ended with her retreating while her partner took unnecessary risks. The pressure from Earth was growing stronger. General Deho's messages were becoming more urgent. The Galactic Defense Council was questioning humanity's readiness for membership. Reports of mission failures were not helping their case. "You must find a way to succeed," the general said in his latest message. "Too much depends on your performance." Jinwoo's messages were more supportive but equally worried. "The news feeds are saying humans might not be ready for space combat." "Prove them wrong, big sister." Commander Zilnash called Hana to a private meeting. They stood in the observation deck looking out at the dead station. "Your individual test scores are adequate," the commander said, "but mission success requires teamwork. Your partnership is failing." "Kael'vor won't work with me," Hana said, "and you cannot work without him. This is a problem that goes beyond your personal success. Earth's status in the defense pact depends on human performance here." Hana felt the weight of those words. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that if humanity cannot prove they can function in mixed species units, their membership may be reconsidered." That night, Hana could not sleep. She stared out her quarters window at the station. Other teams were still running missions inside it. Their success lights blinked on the display board while her team remained in failure status. The third mission was their last chance. The objective was to infiltrate the station's control room and manually override the defense systems. It was considered the most difficult mission, which was why it had been saved for last. "This time I lead," Kael'vor announced. "Stay close and do what I tell you." But everything went wrong from the start. Kael'vor triggered a proximity alarm while trying to melt through a security door. Defense drones swarmed their position immediately. His flames were again countered by suppression systems, leaving him vulnerable to energy weapons. "I have to retreat," he said over the radio. Static filled the channel as defensive systems jammed their communications. Hana found herself alone, deep inside the station, with automated sentries closing in on all sides. The logical choice was to retreat. Every tactical manual said to fall back when outnumbered and outgunned. Instead, she did what humans do when logic fails them. She improvised. The station's fire suppression system was still active from Kael'vor's earlier flames. Hana realized she could use it as a weapon. She damaged the suppression nozzles to create thick clouds of chemical foam throughout the corridor. The automated sentries relied on sensors to target enemies. The dense foam confused their targeting systems. They began firing at shadows and empty air while Hana slipped between them. She reached the control room as her oxygen was running out. The chemical foam was toxic to breathe, but she forced herself to stay conscious long enough to complete the override sequence. When the rescue team found her, she was unconscious on the control room floor. But the mission was complete. The defense systems were down. Her team had succeeded. Kael'vor visited her in the medical bay. For the first time, he looked ashamed. "I left you behind," he said. "You had to retreat," Hana replied. "It was the right tactical choice." "But you did not retreat." "I couldn't. Too much was depending on this mission." Kael'vor studied her with his yellow eyes. "I have been arrogant. I thought working with humans was beneath me. I was wrong. We all make mistakes. Some mistakes cost lives. Mine almost cost yours," he paused. "How did you survive in there?" The toxic levels should have killed you in minutes. Hana thought about it. I held my breath and kept moving. When you can't fight the environment, you adapt to it. Most species would have died from the chemical exposure alone. Most species aren't human. Dr. Youngman was amazed by her recovery. Your body processed toxins that would have been lethal to any other species. And your oxygen efficiency in crisis situations is remarkable. Is that unusual? Very. It's like your species evolved to survive in hostile environments. That night, the mission success board finally showed a green light next to Hana's team name. She was the last human student to complete the live fire exercises, but she had done it. More importantly, she had proven something to herself and others. When everything went wrong and she was alone against impossible odds, she had found a way to succeed. The academy's other students were talking about her again, but the tone was different now. They no longer saw her as lucky or stubborn. They saw her as someone who could complete missions that should have been impossible. Commander Zilnash came to see her before she was discharged from medical. Your method was unconventional, it said. But it worked. Yes, it worked. That raises interesting questions about human combat doctrine. Hana waited for the commander to continue. Other species fight with their strengths. You fight by adapting to weaknesses. When the environment became hostile, you used it as a weapon. When the enemy's advantages became clear, you found ways to neutralize them. Sometimes the only way forward is through. Indeed, your success has been noted by the Galactic Defense Council. They are beginning to understand that human contributions to galactic defense may be different than expected, but no less valuable. As Hana prepared to return to regular training, she reflected on what she had learned. She was not the strongest student at the academy. She was not the fastest or the smartest, but she was becoming something else. She was becoming unstoppable. Not because she could not be stopped, but because she would not stay stopped. Every time the academy knocked her down, she got back up and found a new way forward. The dead station outside her window was now fully powered and operational. Defense systems that had seemed impossible to defeat were shut down by a small human who refused to retreat when retreat made sense. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, harder opponents, more complex missions. The academy would keep testing her limits, but she was ready for whatever came next. Because she had learned the most important lesson of all, she was still standing. The academy's advanced training phase began with a warning from Commander Zilnash. The crystal being's light patterns flickered, with what Hana had learned to recognize as concern. You will now face opponents, specifically chosen to test your limits, the commander announced to the assembled students. These are not random pairings. Each match is designed to push you beyond your current capabilities. Hana's first opponent was Nim-Ora, a scion whose species could read thoughts and predict actions before they happened. The tall, pale being had never lost a combat match. Her large black eyes seemed to look right through Hana's skull. This is unfortunate, Nim-Ora said as they prepared for their first sparring session. I can already see how this match will end. You will attempt 3 different attacks. I will counter all of them. You will yield within 90 seconds. The match began exactly as Nim-Ora predicted. Every punch Hana threw was dodged before she finished the motion. Every kick was blocked before her foot left the ground. Fighting a telepath was like fighting someone who knew the future. Hana lasted exactly 90 seconds before yielding. Predictable, Nim-Ora said. Your thoughts are loud and simple. Try again when you learn to think more quietly. But Hana did not wait for permission to try again. She requested an immediate rematch. Very well, Nim-Ora agreed, though the result will be the same. The second match lasted 2 minutes. The third lasted 3. Each time Hana learned something new about fighting a telepath. Nim-Ora could read her conscious thoughts but not her reflexes. The scion could predict planned attacks but had trouble with purely instinctive movements. You are improving, Nim-Ora admitted after their 5th match. But improvement is not victory. Hana wiped sweat from her forehead. Then we'll keep fighting until it is. You cannot train your mind to be silent. It is not in your nature. Then I'll train it to be chaotic. For the next week, Hana changed her approach completely. Instead of trying to quiet her thoughts, she made them louder and more confusing. She filled her mind with random memories, song lyrics, and meaningless images while her body fought on pure instinct. Nim-Ora began to struggle. The scion's face showed frustration as Hana's mental noise interfered with her ability to read intentions. What are you doing? Emor demanded during their 10th match. Thinking about breakfast, Hana replied while landing a solid hit to the Scion's ribs. And my brother's terrible singing. And the color blue. And whether Valkyrian's dream. By their 15th match, Nimora was defeated. The Scion sat on the mat holding her bruised ribs while Hana stood ready to continue. I do not understand, Nimora said. Your mind is chaos. How do you fight through such noise? Humans multitask, Hana said. We can think about 17 different things while doing something completely different. Commander Zilnash recorded the victory with what seemed like satisfaction. Adaptation in progress, it noted. Hana's second major opponent was Velthar, a mechanist who could interface directly with technology. His species had computer implants that let them control multiple systems simultaneously. In combat, he used robotic drones that moved with perfect coordination. Your biological limitations are severe, Velthar said before their first match. Neural cables connected his head to 6 combat drones that floated around him like a metal cloud. I process information at computational speeds. You process it at biological speeds. The first match was a disaster. Hana faced not just Velthar, but 6 perfectly coordinated drones that attacked from all angles. Each drone knew exactly where the others were positioned. Their attacks came in complex patterns that would have challenged an entire squad. She lasted 43 seconds. Efficiency, Velthar commented. Biological entities cannot match technological precision. But as Hana requested rematch after rematch, she began to notice something important. The drones were perfectly coordinated, but that coordination made them predictable. They moved in mathematical patterns that could be learned. More importantly, Velthar's technology dependence was also a weakness. His implants made him incredibly efficient, but they also made him think like a machine. He optimized for mathematical perfection, not creative chaos. Your patterns are beautiful, Hana told him during their 8th match. But beauty can be boring. She began fighting erratically. Instead of trying to match his precision, she embraced randomness. She made choices that were tactically wrong but unpredictable. She wasted energy on unnecessary movements that confused the drone's targeting systems. Most importantly, she forced the fight into close combat where his technological advantages were reduced. This is inefficient, Velthar protested as Hana grappled with him directly. His drones could not fire without risking hitting their controller. Efficiency is overrated, Hana said, landing a punch that disrupted his neural connection to 2 drones. The victory came when she tackled Velthar to the ground and held him there. His remaining drones hovered uselessly overhead, unable to attack without harming him. For all his technological superiority, he had the same physical vulnerabilities as any other biological being. I do not understand your tactics, he said after yielding. That's the point, Hana replied. If you can't understand them, you can't counter them. Dr. Youngman grew increasingly concerned as Hana's training intensified. Her medical records showed damage that should have ended her academy career multiple times. Your pain tolerance is beyond measurement, he told her during one of many medical examinations. But your body is accumulating damage faster than it can heal. But it is healing, Hana pointed out. Yes, but there are limits. Even human resilience has boundaries. Hana looked at the medical readouts showing her various injuries, healed fractures, and tissue damage. What if those boundaries are further out than anyone thought? That's not a safe assumption to make. But Hana was beginning to suspect that human limits were not as fixed as everyone believed. Each impossible fight taught her something new about what her body could endure and recover from. Her reputation at the academy was changing. Other students no longer saw her victories as luck or determination alone. They were beginning to understand that humans fought differently than any other species they had encountered. She does not fight to win quickly, observed Thexian, a crystalline student known for his tactical analysis. She fights to outlast. Victory through endurance rather than dominance. Kael'vor, who had become something of a friend since their shared mission, put it differently. She fights like time is on her side, even when it should not be. Vextile had perhaps the best understanding. Her species evolved on a world that tried to kill them constantly. They learned to survive things that would destroy others. Now she brings that survival instinct here. But the cost was becoming apparent. Hana's sleep was often interrupted by pain from old injuries. Her appetite had increased dramatically as her body struggled to repair constant damage. There were days when she moved stiffly, like someone much older. Still, she continued training. Each new opponent brought new challenges and new opportunities to learn. Against Zorthok, a hive mind entity that fought with perfect tactical coordination across multiple bodies, she learned to create chaos that disrupted their shared consciousness. Against Yilnara, a phase shifter who could become temporarily intangible, she developed the patience to wait for the exact moment when her opponent had to become solid. Against Morgoth, a gravity manipulator who could control personal gravitational fields, she learned to use his own power against him by predicting how he would redirect her attacks. Each victory came at tremendous cost. Each defeat taught her something valuable, and through it all she kept getting back up. The human's approach is unprecedented, Commander Zilnash reported to the Academy's senior staff. She treats defeat as data collection rather than failure. This allows her to improve against opponents who should consistently overpower her. Is this a viable combat doctrine? Asked the senior tactical instructor. For humans, perhaps. Other species cannot endure the physical and psychological cost of her training methods. But for a species that evolved to survive rather than dominate, it may be ideal. Hana's latest opponent was announced during the weekly combat assignments. Razthul was a void warrior, a species known for their ability to absorb and redirect energy attacks. No projectile weapon could harm them. Energy blades simply made them stronger. This should be interesting, Razthul said. The dark-skinned being seemed to absorb light around him. I have heard much about the human who refuses to quit. But refusal means nothing against an opponent you cannot hurt. As they prepared for their first match, Hana considered the challenge. How do you fight someone who becomes stronger from your attacks? The answer, she realized, was the same as always. You adapt. You learn. You find a way. And if there was no way, you made one because that was what humans did. They looked at impossible situations and found ways to make them possible. She was still standing. And she would keep standing until she figured out how to win, even if it killed her. Which, according to Dr. Youngman's increasingly worried medical reports, it just might. The Academy's grand arena had never been so crowded. Representatives from all 17 member species filled the observation decks. Holographic displays allowed billions across the galaxy to watch. The final tournament was the most prestigious event in galactic military education. For the first time in Academy history, a human had made it past the preliminary rounds. Hana stood in the preparation chamber trying to ignore the weight of expectations. Her communicator showed hundreds of messages from Earth. General Daeho's face appeared on the screen for what felt like the 100th time. The entire Defense Council is watching, he said. Win or lose, you have already made history. But Hana, if you can go further, it would change everything for humanity. She turned off the communicator without watching the rest. The pressure was crushing, but she had learned to use pressure as fuel. Her first opponent entered the arena to thunderous applause. Thexian was a living crystal, his body made of silicon compounds that had never been cracked by any weapon. For 3 years, he had dominated every combat exercise. His natural armor was considered impenetrable. I respect what you have accomplished, human, Thexian said as they faced each other in the center of the arena. His voice sounded like grinding stone. But this match will demonstrate the limits of determination. The starting signal sounded. Thexian moved with surprising speed for someone made of living rock. His first punch would have shattered concrete. It hit Hana in the shoulder and sent her flying across the arena floor. She rolled with the impact and came up moving. Her shoulder felt like it might be broken, but she pushed the pain aside. She had learned to fight through worse. Her counterpunch hit Thexian's chest with perfect form. It felt like punching a mountain. The crystal being did not even flinch, you see? Thexian said. Your attacks are meaningless against my natural armor. But Hana was not trying to break his armor. She was studying it. Every crystal had weak points where different sections joined together. Every armor had gaps where mobility was necessary. For 10 minutes, she absorbed punishment while mapping Thexian's body. His crystal plates overlapped like scales, but there had to be joints somewhere. No living being could move without flexible connections. She found them at his elbows and knees. Tiny gaps where softer crystal allowed for joint movement. The gaps were small, but Hana's strikes had become very precise through months of training. Her first successful hit landed at his left elbow joint. Thexian grunted in surprise. It was the first time anyone had caused him pain in combat. Impossible, he said. Improbable, Hana corrected, striking at his right knee joint. The tide of battle shifted. Thexian's confidence cracked along with his previously untouchable armor. He had never learned to fight through pain because he had never experienced it before. When Hana finally landed a hit to the joint at the base of his neck, Thexian collapsed. His crystal body was intact, but his neural connections were disrupted. He yielded before permanent damage could occur. The arena fell silent. Then the cheers began. Her second opponent was announced immediately. No rest period. No medical treatment. The tournament rules were brutal by design. Morgoth entered the arena as 6 separate bodies moving in perfect unison. The Hive Mind Collective shared one consciousness across multiple forms. Fighting them was like fighting a squad that could think as one person. "We have studied your previous matches," all 6 bodies said in perfect synchronization. "We know your methods. Adaptation requires time. We will not give you time." The attack came from all directions at once. 6 bodies with perfect coordination struck in patterns no individual fighter could match. Hana found herself surrounded, outnumbered, and outmaneuvered. But she had fought hive minds before during training. She knew their greatest strength was also their greatest weakness. Perfect coordination required perfect communication. Disrupt the communication, and the coordination collapsed. Hana began fighting erratically, moving in ways that made no tactical sense. She wasted energy on unnecessary rolls and jumps. She attacked empty air. She acted like someone who had lost their mind. The chaos worked. Morgoth's shared consciousness became confused, trying to track her unpredictable movements. When one body tried to predict where she would be, another body moved to counter a different prediction. Their perfect coordination turned into hesitation and conflict. Hana grabbed one of the 6 bodies and used it as a shield against the others. The hive mind could not attack without hitting part of itself. For creatures that shared every thought, the concept of acceptable losses did not exist. "We do not understand your tactics," the remaining 5 bodies said. "Good," Hana replied, striking the captured body at nerve points that would cause temporary paralysis. "Understanding is overrated." When the paralyzed body went limp, the shock disrupted the entire hive mind's connection. The other 5 bodies stumbled as their shared consciousness tried to compensate for the lost member. Hana used the confusion to eliminate them one by one. Each fallen body weakened the other's coordination further. By the time only 2 bodies remained, they were fighting like confused individuals instead of a unified entity. The match ended when the last 2 bodies yielded simultaneously. Morgoth had never experienced the loss of collective consciousness before. The trauma was too overwhelming to continue. The crowd's reaction was different now. The cheers were mixed with nervous murmurs. Hana was doing things that should have been impossible. Her victories were becoming disturbing rather than inspiring, but the tournament rules were absolute. She advanced to the final round. As medical teams checked her injuries, Dr. Youngman's face was grim. "Your body is operating beyond safe parameters," he said quietly. "Your pain receptors are barely functioning. Your healing factor is accelerated to dangerous levels. Can I continue fighting?" Hana asked. "Medically, no. Legally, yes. The choice is yours." Hana looked up at the observation decks. Earth's representatives were on their feet, cheering. Her brother Jinwoo was somewhere in that crowd, probably crying with pride and fear. "I continue," she said. Her final opponent needed no introduction. Zaraneth was a legend. The Void Walker had never lost a single combat in her 3 years at the Academy. Her ability to manipulate gravity made her nearly untouchable in battle. Zaraneth floated above the arena floor, defying gravity with casual ease. Her dark skin seemed to absorb light, and her eyes were like black holes. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of crushing force. "You have fought well, human," she said. "Your victories against Thexian and Morgoth were impressive, but your journey ends here." The final match began. Zaraneth attacked immediately with devastating force. Gravity around Hana became crushing weight that drove her to her knees. Then the weight reversed, sending her flying toward the arena ceiling at bone-breaking speed. Hana hit the ceiling hard enough to crack the reinforced material. Before she could recover, gravity shifted again, slamming her into the floor. Then the walls. Then the ceiling again. She was a toy being thrown around by forces beyond her control. Each impact would have killed most beings instantly. Somehow she kept getting up. "Why do you not yield?" Zaraneth demanded after the 10th gravitational assault. "You cannot touch me. You cannot hurt me. This is pointless suffering. Hana spat blood and forced herself to stand, because pointless suffering is what humans do best. She began moving constantly, never staying in one place long enough for Zaraneth to lock onto her with sustained gravitational force. It was exhausting and painful, but it kept her alive. More importantly, she was learning. Zaraneth's power was incredible, but it required concentration and energy. The Void Walker was getting tired from the constant gravitational manipulation. "You only delay the inevitable," Zaraneth said, but her voice showed strain. "Delay is all I need," Hana replied. The breakthrough came when Hana realized something crucial about Void Walker physiology. Zaraneth could manipulate gravity around others, but she had to maintain contact with a solid surface to anchor herself. Without that anchor, her power became unstable. Hana began forcing the fight toward the arena's aerial combat zone. Every time Zaraneth tried to pin her down with gravity, she moved toward areas where the Void Walker would have to follow. Clever, Zaraneth admitted, as she was forced to float higher to maintain her attacks. But futile. Up in the aerial zone, Zaraneth's power was reduced but not eliminated. She could still manipulate local gravity, but the effects were weaker without a solid surface to anchor against. The final exchange began when both fighters reached the very top of the arena. Zaraneth gathered her remaining energy for one devastating attack that would end the match permanently. Gravity around Hana became a crushing vice that threatened to compress her into nothing. The force was so intense that the arena's structural supports began to groan. Spectators in the nearest observation decks were evacuated as safety barriers activated. Hana felt her bones beginning to crack under the pressure. Her vision went dark at the edges. Every cell in her body screamed in agony, but she did not yield. Instead, she did something no one expected. She used the gravitational force as momentum, letting it compress her like a spring, then releasing all that stored energy in one explosive movement toward Zaraneth. The Void Walker was so focused on maintaining her devastating attack that she could not defend against Hana's desperate charge. For the first time in her life, someone had gotten close enough to touch her during combat. Hana's tackle sent both fighters plummeting toward the arena floor. Zaraneth's concentration shattered, her gravitational control collapsed, and they fell together in normal gravity. The impact was devastating for both of them. Hana hit the floor with the force of a meteor. Every bone in her body should have shattered. Her organs should have failed. Her nervous system should have shut down completely. But somehow, impossibly, she moved. Zaraneth lay motionless beside her, unconscious from the impact and energy exhaustion. Her incredible power had finally met its limit. Hana pushed herself up onto her hands and knees. Then, with effort that seemed to come from somewhere beyond physical capability, she stood up. Blood ran from dozens of wounds. Her left arm hung useless at her side. She swayed like a tree in a hurricane, but she was standing. The arena was completely silent. 17 species worth of military observers stared in disbelief. Medical sensors showed that Hana should not be conscious, much less upright. Commander Zilnash's voice carried across the arena with crystal clarity. "Victory to the human Hana of Earth." The cheers that followed could be heard across 3 star systems. The medical bay had never seen anything like it. Hana lay unconscious for 3 days while teams of doctors from different species tried to understand how she was still alive. Her injuries should have been fatal several times over, yet her vital signs remained stable. Dr. Youngman worked around the clock, coordinating with alien medical specialists who had never treated a human before. The readouts were fascinating and terrifying. "Her cellular repair rate has increased by 400%, reported Dr. Zixnall, an Exari medical specialist. "This should not be possible without technological enhancement. Human physiology is more adaptable than we realized," Dr. Youngman replied. "Under extreme stress, our bodies can activate dormant repair mechanisms. Dormant mechanisms that could kill her if they continue at this rate," warned Dr. Velmore, a Thurian surgeon. Her body is consuming itself to fuel these repairs, but the repairs were working. Broken bones were healing in hours instead of weeks. Torn muscles were rebuilding themselves overnight. Internal injuries that should have required surgery were fixing themselves through sheer biological determination. On the 3rd day, Hana opened her eyes. Commander Zilnash was waiting beside her bed. The crystal being's light patterns showed what might have been relief. "You have been unconscious for 72 hours, it said. The medical teams were unsure if you would wake up. Hana tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain shot through her entire body like lightning. Did I win? You won the tournament. You are the Academy's new valedictorian, the first human to achieve this rank. The words felt unreal. Hana had dreamed of this moment, but now that it was here, she felt only exhaustion. There is more, Commander Zilnash continued. Your victory has changed things throughout the galaxy. The Defense Council has unanimously approved humanity's full membership in the Galactic Defense Pact. Through the medical bay window, Hana could see crowds of students gathering outside. Humans and aliens stood together, many wearing hastily made banners supporting Earth. The news of her victory had spread faster than light across 17 worlds. Her communicator buzzed with incoming messages. General Deho's face appeared first, tears streaming down the old soldier's cheeks. Hana, you did it, not just for yourself, but for all of us. Earth's children will now stand as equals among the stars. The next message was from Jinwoo. Her brother was in his military dress uniform, standing at attention. Big sister, you are officially the most famous human in the galaxy. Dad would have been so proud. You kept digging even when the mountain fell on you. More messages followed. Fellow cadets from Earth, politicians, scientists. Even the president of the Earth Defense Force sent personal congratulations. But the message that meant the most came from an unexpected source. Gorthax appeared on the screen. The massive Velkarian who had been her first opponent looked different somehow. Less arrogant, more respectful. Human Hana, he said formally. I wanted to apologize for my words on your first day. I said you did not look like much of a warrior. I was wrong. You are the finest warrior I have ever seen. Over the next week, as Hana recovered, similar messages arrived from other students she had fought. Nimura admitted that fighting a chaotic human mind had taught her new ways to use her telepathic abilities. Velthar said that her unpredictable tactics had inspired him to think beyond pure efficiency. Even Zaraneth, still recovering from her own injuries, sent a message. You taught me that power without endurance is meaningless, the Voidwalker said. I could manipulate gravity itself, but you could do something I never learned. You could refuse to stay down. The Academy's graduation ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. Hana stood at the podium in the grand arena where she had fought her final battles. Her body was still healing, but she stood straight and strong. Representatives from 17 species filled the observation decks. Earth's delegation sat in the place of honor, with General Deho and Jinwoo in the front row. Fellow warriors, Hana began, her voice carrying clearly through the arena. When I arrived at this academy, many of you doubted that humans belonged here. Some of you thought we were too weak. Others thought we were too primitive. She paused, looking out at the sea of faces. Alien and human eyes watched her with equal attention. You were right about some things. We are not the strongest species. We do not have the best technology. We cannot read minds or manipulate gravity or interface directly with computers. A murmur went through the crowd. This was not the speech they expected from the new valedictorian. But you were wrong about what matters most, Hana continued. Strength fails when you face someone stronger. Technology fails when someone has better technology. Special abilities fail when you meet someone who can counter them. Her voice grew stronger as she spoke. But the refusal to quit never fails. When everything else is taken away, when every advantage is lost, when logic says you should surrender, humans have one thing left. We get back up. The arena was completely silent now. I did not win these battles because I was better than my opponents. I won because I was still willing to fight when being better no longer mattered. I won because when every rational reason to quit was given, I found irrational reasons to continue. She gestured toward the Earth delegation. My species evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. We survived ice ages and predators and diseases and disasters that should have wiped us out. We learned that survival is not about being the best. It is about being the last one still trying. Hana's voice carried across the galaxy through quantum communications. Today, humanity joins the galactic community, not as the strongest or smartest or most advanced species. We join as the species that refuses to stay down. When the galaxy faces threats that seem impossible to overcome, when logic says all hope is lost, humans will be there. She pointed toward the stars visible through the arena's transparent dome. We will be there, still fighting, still standing, still refusing to accept defeat. Because that is what humans do. We look at impossible odds and ask not how can we win, But how can we keep trying? The applause began slowly from the Earth delegation. Then it spread to other species. Soon the entire arena was on its feet, cheering for the small human who had shown them something new about the power of an unbreakable spirit. Commander Zilnash approached the podium to present Hana with the valedictorian badge. As the crystal being pinned the insignia to her uniform, it spoke quietly enough that only she could hear. "You have changed more than you know," it said. "The Academy will now train students differently. Your methods will be studied and adapted. You have shown us that there are many paths to victory." "Just one path, actually," Hana replied. "Never stop walking it." After the ceremony, Hana stood alone in the Academy's observation deck looking out at the stars. Tomorrow she would take command of her first starship crew. The galaxy was full of dangers that would test humanity's new status as equals among the stars. But she was not worried. Earth's children would face those challenges the same way she had faced every opponent in the Academy. They would adapt, they would endure, they would find ways to keep fighting when fighting seemed impossible. Jinwoo joined her at the observation window. Her brother wore the uniform of an Academy graduate. He had completed his training while she was recovering and would serve as her first officer. "Ready for whatever comes next?" he asked. Hana smiled, thinking of their father's words about miners who survived by refusing to give up. "The galaxy is about to learn something new," she said. "It's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward." She looked out at the infinite stars, each one representing new challenges and opportunities for humanity to prove itself. And humans are very good at keeping moving forward. In the months that followed, Hana's story spread throughout the galaxy. The human who refused to stay down became a legend. Young warriors of every species studied her matches, trying to understand how determination could overcome seemingly impossible odds. But more importantly, humanity had earned its place among the stars. Not through superior strength or technology, but through the simple refusal to accept defeat. The Academy's records would forever show the truth. When the fiercest clashes ended, she was still on her feet. And that made all the difference.